The following content contains material that may be triggering to some audiences.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the CommQuest Hope Discovered Podcast. My name is Bill Deeser. Hope Discovered is a podcast series from CommQuest Services. This podcast features individuals in recovery from addiction and mental illness, recovery service professionals, and community advocates who offer insight on how we provide hope to the communities we serve. We often have guests share their personal journey of hope from their own experiences, and that is the case today. With us today is Suzanne Parsons, who works in our women's residential recovery programs here at CommQuest. Suzanne, welcome. So glad to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Let's start with a little bit about you. Are you from this area?
Yes, I'm from Stark County. Grew up here, born here, raised here.
Yes, it's a good place. Are you like a football fan? Because football's big here.
No, not really. Should I say yes? No.
No, that's fine. Your early days, did you have brothers and sisters? What kind of a student were you? Did you like school? Tell us a little bit about your early days.
I grew up in a Catholic home. I have a sister that's 6 years older than me. We were the typical, I guess you would say, normal family. Like, there was no problems. Student-wise, I liked the social side of school more than the academic side. But I was a cheerleader and I ran track, so I did have to keep my grades at a certain level. But I wanted my friends more than the grades, I guess.
Yeah. Well, being involved in athletics, it sounds like you enjoyed school to some degree and you were involved. Yeah, so that's awesome. We're here to talk about your recovery journey and some of the things that you've been through. Before we get into the meat of that, in retrospect, how did your problems begin in the early stages? When you look back at it now and you have the benefit of hindsight, where did your problems begin?
Looking back now, I can see that it was when I was 13. I had my first drink at 13, and realized then that I could be a more comfortable, outgoing person because I was a shy, introvert, self-conscious. But when I drank, I wasn't like that. So that started where I think my addictions began. But at that time, I never thought of it as an issue.
Mm-hmm. As the addictions escalated, how did this impact your life? Now, you mentioned school, other aspects of your life. What was impacted first? How did the dominoes start to fall?
When I was in high school and then on into college, I drank every weekend. If there was an activity, I didn't go to it without drinking. I didn't feel like you could. So, I was okay through high school. I did drop out of college when I was a freshman at Kent because I wanted to drink more than I wanted to go to classes. So instead, I went from my friends, all their dorms, and hung out with them.
Yeah. You had mentioned drinking, but there were other things involved. How did those graduations begin? When did that start to escalate?
I went from drinking to pills. I was in nursing school. I was working full time. I had 2 children under the age of 4, and I was trying to stay up and be super mom and was offered Percocet. And once I took that, I could stay up all night and be the person that I thought I needed to be. Didn't think anyone around me noticed it, but it affected my job. I lost my job. Ended up having to go to a outpatient, the Chance program. And, it just let down my family because they saw issues that I didn't see.
Yeah. That's often how it escalates, though. A lot of times people have the impression that otherwise people having a happy life just decide to take pills. But it happens in small little steps. Like I needed to stay up for work. I needed to study. I'm just having a bad day. And before you know it, it's out of control. Is that kind of what happened with you?
It's exactly what happened. And then I did have a sobriety period where I wasn't taking any pills. I wasn't really drinking. I had 2 more children at that time. But then it really got worse. I was having issues with my marriage. It was involved in abuse. I left my husband, and that's when everything went from nothing to I started my addiction with meth, and then it went on to heroin, and my life just spiraled out of control.
What was the point of realization, the wake-up call that I often hear from people who have this kind of journey? Something usually happens that says, you know what, this can't continue. I need help. What was that moment for you?
The big one, I was living with my mom, with my children, and was leaving when everybody went to sleep to go hang out and stay in motels and use drugs, and then trying to come back like nothing happened and still be mom again, thinking nobody knew. But that started lots of fights with family, and I ended up just one night, I didn't come back. And I figured that, my kids are with my mom, they're safe. I can't go back to them while I'm using. And I was involved in lots of abuse at that time. And I wasn't going to go home with any of those scars or being high or being sick because I wasn't high. So every day I would say, I'm going to stop and I'll go back tomorrow. But it just escalated. And then I had issues with the court systems because of my addiction. And that's when I think it slapped me in the face the first time that I needed to get some help. I couldn't do it on my own because they kept telling everybody I didn't have a problem.
Yeah. How did you take that step when you realized, okay, like you just said, I need help? What was the step that you took? What was your avenue to get onto that road for recovery?
I started at, I went to detox. I ended up being there for it was about 11 days. And from detox, I went to a women's residential facility. It was Deliverance House 2 at the time. And I had every intention of doing it. I wanted sobriety. I wanted to stay sober. But once I got there and I was scared, it was my first time ever being in treatment. And to be honest, I was seeing a guy and I wanted to know what he was doing on the outside, and I left. I didn't stay that time. And I told my family that I would go to IOP and outpatient. And I did start that, but I did relapse during that journey as well.
Yeah. They say relapse is often part of the process. And I'll kind of throw this to you. If someone has, is really serious about their recovery and they do have a situation where they're, one step back as opposed to 2 steps forward, that's not the end of the world. You have to work your way through that.
Oh, absolutely.
Would you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I was disappointed in myself for that relapse because I know I let my family down and I let myself down. So, I did, go through that period where my relapse was really bad at that time. They say every time you go back out, it gets worse. And that's the absolute truth. My addiction was worse than it ever was. And it was like a 4 to 6 month period at that time where it got really bad. I had overdosed, and my family saw this time, and I went back to detox again, and learned there that yes, you relapse, but you can learn the tools there if you really dig your feet in, and recovery is possible again. It's not lost just because you have a relapse.
Right.
You can always come back.
Yes. What was the detox process for you like? Because that's an area when people hear detox, they kind of think of this sterilization, that the badness is drained from your body, but it's not quite like that. It's more comprehensive than that. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, I had no idea what I was walking into. Like I thought they were gonna just stick you in a room and I don't even know what.
Let you sweat it out.
Yeah, but no, they made it so comfortable. Like from the minute I got there, because you're scared. I was scared. I don't know. I'm not going to explain it to anybody else, but
sure.
I was scared to death to be there. And then you have medication that they help with the withdrawal symptoms. So it's not easy, but you're at least comfortable. It's not just laying in your bed. There's groups and counselors and people there that help you get started on that process of recovery and digging out of yourself why you're using.
Yes. We want to stress that the process of detox here at CommQuest is a very compassionate type of service. I know in the movies, a lot of times somebody wants to get somebody quote unquote clean, so they strap them to a gurney and just let them.
That's what I thought. I was walking into some madness, but no, it's not like that at all.
Sure. How long, you've made it out of detox. You're in residential recovery. It's a process. Months go by, I'm sure.
Yes.
How long did it take for you to feel comfortable in your recovery? And I also want to choose my words carefully there, because it's not like one day you wake up and you're recovered and you have no worries. It's always a process.
Yes.
So as you're in recovery, at what point did you start to feel, okay, I am controlling this now. It's not controlling me?
I had to learn, for me, what was the actual root of the problem. So talking to the counselors and really digging deep into myself, I think I started to finally feel better when I knew the issues that I had to address. A lot of it was self-destruction. So when I was able to learn the tools that when something came up and I felt like I needed to go use, I had another option. And I started to feel comfortable in that because others could see it. Like my children would let me call and talk to them on the phone on your phone calls that you get. Like my family was starting to see it. So it made me.
Yes. Success has a way of breeding success. Yes, absolutely. It's just like losing weight.
Yeah. When you see results. Yeah.
Recovery is possible. That's something that we often say. Recovery is possible. It's a very common hashtag on social media for the recovery community. And here again, when we say recovery, it's not like a day that you wake up and you're better. It is a process. For a lot of times we have to manage expectations, but I guess the general way to put it is that a better life is attainable. When you are in that hopelessness, a better life is possible. And I kind of want to throw that to you. How would you speak about that?
When you're in that place of addiction, you don't think there's anything else out there. You think, this is it, you're hopeless. But as you go through your recovery, step by step, and it's not like some bright light that comes on, like you said, it's a daily process. But the longer you're clean and every step you take forward, I was able to see my children. I was able to talk to my parents on the phone, and it's small steps that you can actually see, and you can feel good about yourself again. I went and stayed in transitional housing and was able to get a job. And it was one positive thing after another.
We just kind of touched anyway about some of the misconceptions that people have about certain aspects of recovery. And that ties in very closely to the role of stigma. And that's something that we hear as an organization when we go out and explain to the community what we do. That's one of the key components is fighting stigma, because a lot of times people that find themselves in a situation like that, whether it be from painkillers or their environment or what have you, they feel that if they say anything, they're going to be stigmatized. And I know, I would guess, certainly that prevents a lot of people from coming forward when they know that they should. It just delays that process. And quite frankly, the way we consider our friends and family and people in society who are struggling, maybe we have to reevaluate that. How would you speak to stigma?
For myself, I can remember thinking, like, how can that mom do that? How can you leave your kids? How can you be an addict? Until I became that. Like, I took the wrong road. And everybody, I feel like at one point is going to have some kind of connection to someone in their life now that is suffering from addiction. But I wasn't the junkie that people say. Like, I learned that, like, we're real people. And just because I made the wrong choice doesn't mean that I'm some lowlife. Like, I have a good family. I had good morals. I just made the wrong choices. And people don't want to reach out because they feel like they're going to be judged, or society is just going to cast them to the side. And it's not, an addict is someone's mom, brother, wife. I mean, we're not nobodies. We still are somebody. And reaching out for help is scary. And you feel like the world might be crashing down on you at that point. But once you put your hand out and somebody pulls you out of it, you can help somebody else.
Sure. I would probably like to point out to our audience that the words addict and junkie are, in a lot of ways, ugly terms. And we as professionals, when we are dealing with our services, don't use those terms. But speaking about stigma, those are the words that we use. That's how you are referred to. And that's really what you're speaking to. We need to reevaluate that and be very careful how we refer to people who are going to that, because all that does is strengthen the idea, well, I got to keep my mouth shut.
Yes.
And we don't want to do that. I've often said in hearing these stories that the best time to seek help is right now.
Absolutely.
When that bulb comes on that says, okay, I'm in trouble, do it.
Yes.
And we try to be available for that. Obviously, you've been on a recovery journey now for a long time. Your life and your career is better now. Can you describe those aspects of your life now?
Oh, my life is better than it's ever been, which I didn't think was possible either. I have full custody of my children. I have my own home. I have a car. I have a career that I absolutely love, helping women go through the same thing that I went through, and letting them see that there is hope. You don't have to stay stuck in that rut. Your life can be better. Like, I love going to work, and I'm not just saying that. Like, helping those women helps me. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like I'm giving back. And when you go forward like that, if you reach back and grab the next person, it's a good feeling. And I wouldn't change my life at all right now.
I'm so glad to hear that. And we're so glad to have you here. What message of hope would you have for someone? We hear so much about the negative things, the addiction statistics and so on and so forth. What would be your message of hope for the community, and in particular, someone who may have a loved one or they themselves need to go on that journey?
Just don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your loved ones. Just keep reaching out. Find, like, if you're stuck in addiction and you want help, there's so many places you could go, or even just your family. Just don't give up. I guess that's my message of hope, because when you give up, then you're not going to see the results, I guess. I don't know if I'm putting that the right way, but just keep trudging forward. Even if you take a step behind, you just have to keep going.
Yes. You've got to take your shot. And it's been said, I'm not sure who said it originally, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And you got to take your shot. Absolutely. We have been talking to Suzanne Parsons, who's been kind and generous enough to share some of her story with us. Suzanne works in our women's residential recovery programs here at CommQuest. If you would like to find out more about what we do here at CommQuest, I would direct you to CommQuest.org. That's CommQuest.org. CommQuest.org. Suzanne, thank you so much for being on our podcast.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the CommQuest Hope Discovered podcast. My name is Bill Deeser. Thank you for listening and take care.